It was one of those quiet suburban mornings where the air feels calm, and you imagine nothing unusual will happen. I remember standing at the edge of my driveway, coffee in hand, before pressing the button to roll up my garage door. The mechanical hum echoed gently, and as the sunlight poured in, it revealed the polished surface of my pride and joy, an old, carefully restored vehicle that had been in my family for years. But what should have been an ordinary moment turned into the spark for something far beyond belief, because the very second that door fully rose, I heard a sharp, disbelieving gasp, then a voice, high-pitched, shrill, dripping with accusation, cut across the street like a siren. "There it is. That's my car. I knew you had it." At first, I froze, not even realizing those words were directed at me. But then I saw her, standing there, hands on her hips, phone clutched tightly in one palm, glaring like she had just uncovered the crime of the century. Karen, our infamous HOA enforcer. Now I should explain something. This neighborhood had always been quiet, but Karen had carved out a reputation. She policed lawns like they were military bases, sent threatening letters over paint colors, and took photos of people's recycling bins if they were left out an hour past pickup. Everyone had a story about her, but until this moment, I thought she was just an annoyance. Turns out I was wrong. She pointed directly at my garage. "That's my vintage car. I've been looking for it for years." "You," she jabbed her finger at me, "you must have stolen it." My first instinct was to laugh. Not out of disrespect, but out of sheer disbelief. I couldn't even process how absurd this was. "Excuse me," I managed to say. "This car belonged to my grandfather. I restored it myself. You got the wrong idea." But she was already shaking her head, pulling her phone higher, snapping pictures like she was building her case file. And that was when my stomach twisted, because I realized Karen wasn't bluffing. She truly believed this wild story she had invented. And worse, she wasn't just accusing me. She was gearing up for something bigger. That morning, the peaceful rhythm of the neighborhood cracked. One neighbor peeked from behind their blinds. Another, walking their dog, slowed to stop, curiosity growing. The air felt heavier, and Karen's voice grew louder. "You're going to regret this. You can't just steal from me and think you'll get away with it." At that moment, something inside me shifted. Confusion turned into a sharp thread of fear. Because if Karen really thought my car was hers, what was she going to do about it? And that's when I heard the chilling words, delivered with the certainty of someone who believed she was right. "I'm calling 911. Karen's phone was already pressed to her ear before I could even react. Her voice rose higher with each sentence, dripping with urgency. "Yes, officer, I've located my stolen vehicle. It's in this man's garage, right now. Yes, I can give you the address." My chest tightened. This wasn't just a neighborly spat anymore. This was real, and if the police came barreling in under the impression I was a thief, things could spiral out of control fast. I tried to reason with her, keeping my voice calm. "Karen, please, listen to yourself. This is a misunderstanding. I have the title, the paperwork." But she spun on me with fiery eyes. "Save your lives with police." And that was when I realized logic wasn't going to save me. Minutes later, the distant wail of sirens broke the morning calm. I felt my pulse quicken, palms damp. My garage, my driveway, my entire front yard had become a stage, and every neighbor was now part of the audience. Curtains twitched, phones recorded, whispered voices spread. The flashing lights grew closer until 2 police cars screeched to a halt right in front of my home. The officer stepped out, hands already near their holsters, scanning the scene with practiced caution. Karen ran to them like a desperate movie heroine. "Officers, thank goodness you're here. That man," she thrust her finger at me, "he stole my vintage car. It's right there in his garage. One of the officers frowned, glancing at the car, then at me. Sir, can you step forward, please? My throat felt dry. Of course, officer. But before we go any further, I need you to know that car is mine. I can prove it. Still, the other officer circled the vehicle slowly, inspecting it as though it were a dead body at a crime scene. The absurdity of it all pressed down on me. Karen hovered beside them, voice trembling with self-righteous fury. I have pictures. I reported it years ago. Look, it matches exactly. I couldn't believe it. She had actually dug up an old HOA newsletter on her phone, a faded photo of a similar car. Same make, same color. She shoved it toward the officers like it was undeniable evidence. And here's the thing about moments like this. They're terrifying, but they also trigger something primal. My mind raced. What if the police sided with her? What if they doubted me? I stepped forward, voice steady but my hands trembling. Officers, I have the full title in my name, restoration receipts, everything. I can go inside right now and bring it out. They exchanged glances. One of them nodded cautiously. All right, sir, why don't you do that? And as I turned toward my house, I caught Karen's smirk, a cold, satisfied smirk that said, I've already won. But she was wrong. Very, very wrong. Because the truth was about to come out. Inside my home, I rushed to my office, yanking open the drawer where I kept the important documents. My hands trembled as I pulled out the file. Title deed, registration, insurance papers, all pristine, all in my name. When I walked back out, the air outside felt heavier. The entire neighborhood was watching now, recording, whispering. My driveway was no longer my own. I handed the papers to the officer. He carefully unfolded each one, scanning them slowly. His partner leaned in, comparing details with the car in the garage. Karen's voice cut through the tension. Don't believe him. He probably forged those papers. Thieves are clever like that. Her desperation had morphed into something darker now. Less righteous indignation, more frantic denial. The officer turned to me. This paperwork looks legitimate. The VIN matches the car. I felt a surge of relief. But before I could even breathe, Karen lunged forward with another accusation. Check the paint. The original color wasn't that shade. He repainted it to cover it up. I know my car when I see it. And there it was, the wave of disbelief crashing again, even with undeniable proof in their hands. Karen wasn't letting go. The officer sighed, clearly reaching his limit. Ma'am, we verified the paperwork. Unless you have something concrete, this appears to be his vehicle. But Karen wasn't ready to lose. She pulled out her phone again, dialing frantically. I'll call the HOA president. He'll confirm everything. At this point, the absurdity almost made me laugh. Almost. But my nerves were too raw. My heart still pounded, because here's the truth. False accusations leave scars. Even with proof, the stain of suspicion lingers. And that's when the officer pulled me aside. His voice was low, steady. Sir, you're fine. You have nothing to worry about. But I'll be honest, people like her, they don't back down easy. He was right, because Karen wasn't done. Not by a long shot. The HOA president arrived minutes later, summoned by Karen's desperate call. A tall man with a tired face, clearly annoyed at being dragged into the chaos, stepped onto my driveway. Karen rushed to him, clutching his arm. Tell them this is a car that went missing. You remember, right? The newsletter photo. He looked at the car, then at me, then at the officers. His sigh was heavy, loaded with exhaustion. Karen, he said, his voice low. That car in the old newsletter? It belonged to a member who moved away years ago. This isn't the same vehicle. I told you that before. Her face went pale. The crowd murmured. Phones recorded her silence, her unraveling. For the first time, her confidence cracked. The officer stepped forward, his tone firm now. "Ma'am, you've made a false report. That's a serious offense. Consider this your warning. Do it again and you will face charges." The world seemed to pause. Karen's mouth opened, then closed, words failing her. She stumbled backward, muttering, retreating across the street under the weight of 100 watching eyes. And just like that, the chaos began to dissolve. The officers handed my papers back, nodding respectfully. "You're good to go, sir. Sorry you had to deal with this." Neighbors whispered. Some even came forward with sympathetic smiles. A few admitted they recorded everything, ready to back me up if needed. I stood there, exhausted, my garage door still open, my car still shining under the morning sun. What should have been an ordinary day had turned into a theater of accusation, humiliation, and vindication. But here's the thing. The fear didn't vanish instantly. It lingered, because once you've been falsely accused, you never look at your peace of mind the same way again. Still, I walked back into my home with one truth solid in my chest. The lies had crumbled, and for once, Karen's reign of fear had been broken. So, if you've ever dealt with someone like her, someone who twists reality to feed their own power, remember this. Truth might take time, but it stands stronger than any false claim. And to anyone watching this, if you've ever faced a Karen moment, share it. Because stories like these remind us we're not alone. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and share your own HOA nightmare in the comments below.